plateaus. On one hand, so incredibly frustrating and demoralizing. On the other, a wonderful opportunity to make a lot of potential progress. But not all plateaus are the same. A plateau that an experienced individual will have is going to be very different from someone who's just getting started. If you have several years under your belt, naturally plateaus are going to be a little bit more prevalent because your body adapts, it changes, and as we know, anybody who's got about 5 to 10 years of experience, the further you go into your training career, the slower and harder the results come. So these plateaus are almost expected because you're increasingly going up a mountain that's getting ever steeper as you go along. But a beginner plateau is different because you don't have that experience. You've just started the new diet or the workout program where you're trying to change your body in some way. And even though you're putting in a good amount of effort and some amount of time has passed by, nothing seems to be happening. This type of plateau is being caused for very different reasons. The first of which is that in many circles, this is known as a plateau of latent potential. Essentially, this means that you're creating a change in the environment to make something happen, but you haven't created enough change to reach a tipping point where you get profound results. The example I keep running into whenever I hear of this plateau of latent potential is think of like an ice cube in a cold room, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to turn it into water. You want to melt the ice cube. So you start ramping up the temperature in the room, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. But even though the room's getting warmer, it's still ice, because of course it's not going to melt until roughly around 32 degrees of Fahrenheit. And this is essentially what is causing the, quote, beginner's plateau. Yes, you're moving forward, and yes, you're making some changes, but you haven't quite reached that tipping point just yet. And in fact, there are a lot of ideas in our fitness culture that could permanently keep you in that plateau of latent potential, which I want to expose right now. The first of which, of course, is a dogmatic approach to diet and exercise. Fundamentally, all dogmas are limited. They're limited because they only tell you to do things one way. There's one correct way to eat or a correct way to exercise. And no matter what that is, no matter what the science is, having a very limited approach has a glass ceiling to it. You're only going to progress so far. And then once you reach that point where you fulfill the rules of that dogma, you stop moving forward. Think again back to our ice cube analogy of I want to make it turn to water, and someone says, okay, you need to turn the temperature up exactly 10 degrees. Not 9, not 11, heaven forbid 12, has to be exactly 10. That's the correct temperature to increase it by. So you go from 20 to 30 degrees, and that's still not enough, but you just keep the room at 30 degrees because that's what the experts have told you is supposed to work best. The other thing that keeps you locked in a plateau of latent potential is the classic example I've heard people say, I've tried everything. It's like, yes, you've tried everything one at a time. Because the fact is, a lot of the changes we're looking for, building muscle, losing weight and stuff, aren't going to come from one habit or one strategy. Sometimes we can make a little bit of progress by having things, but when we only employ one thing, like I'm going to cut sugar out of the diet or I'm going to lift 3 times a week or whatever, that's good, but it's almost always not even close to enough because all habits have a very limited influence. And the more you try to advance any single habit, the more effort it's going to take you while experiencing a diminishing rate of return. You're getting less benefit for exponentially more work. So practically, how do you get out of or even prevent a plateau of latent potential from happening? Well, first and foremost is keep moving forward. With whatever you're trying to do, never give up on it. You can change things around. You can change your approaches 20 ways from here to Sunday, but don't give up. If you try one strategy, then you give up. You try a different strategy, and then you give up. You're always just running around in this cycle before you hit that tipping point, and that's how you can do things endlessly and nothing ever seems to work. In addition, use compounding influences in your strategy. So you might say, okay, I'm going to start to try and lose weight. I'm going to cut back on junk food. That's a good start. What else are you going to do? I'm also going to join this yoga class. Good. What else are you going to do? I'm going to drink more water. What else are you going to do? More. Now, it's not more of the particular habits. It's layering on each habit because, like I said before, each habit has an exponential increase in cost with a decreasing amount of benefit. So taking one habit to extremes is going to be hard and not do nearly as much as we want. But if we can layer several habits on top of each other and just kind of dip shallowly into each one, you get a lot more collective influence that keeps pushing you forward because it's a lot more of an impact than any single thing you did to any extreme measure. And as always, if you have questions and thoughts, leave them down below in the comment section. Would love to hear from you as well and help you in any way, shape, form that I can. Thank you very much for watching. Be fit and live free.